Hello, and welcome to What Would Larry Do? I am Dr. Ann, and I am here with Larry Hellwig.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's September. We're moving into fall.
We are, thank God.
I know.
Yeah, we're moving into the good time of year.
I know. The reasons why people live in Phoenix, Arizona are about to start here in the next month or so.
Yep. So now all you Midwest and northern part of the country people, you'll be hearing from me. I'll be talking about how nice it is while you're in a blizzard, so it's the get even time.
The negative 35.
This is a great time to call my brother in South Dakota. It's like, oh, freezing.
I know.
Not yet, but coming up.
Mm-hmm. It will be there soon.
Yep.
All right. So today we are going to talk about the core values of running a successful practice.
Yay.
So, Larry's been in business for a couple hundred years now.
At least.
He's been doing this for a while. He's learned a few things along the way. No, but seriously, he's been running a very successful practice for over 25 years. And so I want to kind of talk about what are some of the core values that you feel like are really important for practices to be successful in this business.
Yeah, I think there are a number of directions this can go. And I think the way to start it is by literally looking at what standards you live by. What are your standards? Do you have a high standard in what you do? The staff is a high standard. If you were to go to, the Ritz-Carlton or something like that, they have a particular standard, and it is an expectation that you have when you go there. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to get. I know the linens are going to be like this, the bed's going to be like this, the food will be quality, certain things. And that was just one example, but there are many like that, and I think that's it. So that's the first thing is, having that kind of standard to help bring out your values and what you stand for and what's important to you and all of that, because there are so many things in this industry in how your relationships and how you deal with other people and how you deal with your patients, how you deal with staff, how you deal with vendors, manufacturers and all of that. And I think that your standard and those values kind of go hand in hand, and you get a reputation. Mm-hmm. And it is about reputation nowadays. If you have a really good reputation, people will drive across town to see you. And it takes time to build that reputation. So how did you get that reputation? Usually based on your standards and the values that you believe in. And sometimes it's how you were brought up. It's you show up on time, you do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and you do it right every time. Doing things the best that can be done means you have less competition, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big part of it, is just all of that and taking and kind of putting all that together and saying we want to be at this standard. And when you're at that standard, it is so much easier for you, your staff, and your patients, because everybody understands. And I think and it makes it more exciting. Yeah. It makes it more exciting. So.
Well, and, going to that part that you're talking about with the Ritz-Carlton, which really comes to the hospitality and the level of service that your practice is going to deliver. Right. I think a lot of people get into the aesthetics industry and they forget that this is a retail industry. And even though we are a medical facility and we are performing medical procedures, it is a retail industry.
It is. And you are offering a service, and you need to be thinking about how you're caring for the patient and how you're communicating with the patient, how the patient is tracked and followed. And I am always surprised how offices will do aggressive treatments on people and then not follow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that? It's like the follow up and all of that. And we have certain treatments built into our more aggressive treatments like resurfacing and things, where we will see them every other day, and we call them every day, so that there is follow-up built into the protocol. But I think having that and having that kind of relationship with the patient, why wouldn't you want to have that? Mm-hmm. And so I think all of that is critical.
Yeah. But, it's when I look for certain things, or when I'm going to places, whether it's I'm choosing a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons, to the restaurants that I go to, whether they're top-notch or not, it a lot of times is based on the service, and it's how they're treating me when I'm there, which is the same thing that needs to be really taught to the staff when they're working for you. It doesn't matter if it's the doctor, if it's the esthetician, if it's the receptionist, if it's the intern. Everybody needs to treat every patient who walks in there with kindness, respect, and make them feel cared about. And if you do, they will keep coming back.
Exactly.
And even if there is a complication, they're going to work with you because they feel like you care and that you want to do what's right for them. And I know you and I really do care. So yeah. We're not just faking it like we don't. We want people to look better and feel better about themselves, but you have to get that to be a part of every single staff member that touches that patient. Because I remember hearing a statistic once that I was shocked by, where it was something high, like 68% of patients who leave a practice do so because of staff. That the primary person they're still there to see, whether it's a doctor or a nurse, they're not willing to stay for based on how the staff is treating them.
If you think about it, in many offices, staff move around, mm-hmm. and so they're not getting the same person.
Yeah.
Or, the routine isn't there, the follow-through isn't there. None of that is the same. But if you are mistreated by a staff member, there's 1,500 other offices that do what we do. Mm-hmm. You're going to have competition. And, they don't have to come to you. They come to you because they want to. And if you do something that makes that change, well, then you've lost them. And that's on you. That's on you.
Yep.
So I think that's very important, how you care for your patient, how the entire staff cares for the patient. And sometimes you just go above and beyond the call of duty. Mm-hmm. You stay late. You do this. You do that. Just because you need to help that patient.
Yep.
Or it just didn't work out any other way. Well, patient comes first.
Yep.
So I think having that attitude and that approach is, especially when you always need that. But when you're starting out, how do I do this? How do I build my practice? How do I just make it a very much, service-oriented, mm-hmm. how can I help you? And that's that. Who doesn't like that approach? Yeah. Everyone likes that. And, offer them things and how can we make this better? And that type of approach I think it's just very valid nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. And that's where, even though it is the medical industry, you want to make them feel cared about. And whether it's, you always use the Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons. I also like using the Disneyland example. When you go to Disneyland, every single staff person that is there is nice to you. It is like part of the requirement to work for them is you have to be nice. This is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. And their job is to make sure that everybody there is experiencing that.
Yep.
And so, that's what we want to do is, it's not that I'm going to be fake or, go over and beyond in a way that's ridiculous. But when patients come to see me, they're going to feel like I respect them. I'm going to treat them kindly. I'm going to be happy to see them. Yeah. Those are simple things that anybody can do that, doesn't have to be goofy, but that makes the patients feel cared about.
It's interesting, the difference in what happens with staff when there is a change. Like you can go from an office in which almost everybody coming in, patients are hugging, the mm-hmm. staff, and the staff's hugging the patients. And it's like, you're excited to see them. It's been a few months, what's going on in your life. It is just that kind of attitude. You go to the next office, and it's not like that at all. And, and you're seeing people, you've seen the same people for a long time, but they don't have that kind of relationship, friendliness, whatever. And boy, that makes a difference. So I think having that, and that should be first and foremost for almost everyone, is to have that, building relationship, get your reputation based on you are service oriented, you're there to take care of them and to help them no matter what time or what the situation is. Do all you can for them, and it pays big dividends.
Yep.
Yeah, very helpful.
No. And so I agree. That's definitely for me like the top and the core values of the practice is that hospitality and level of service and really wanting to take care of your clients. But let's kind of turn the tables on that a little bit and let's talk about pricing and why there's, this relates to the core values of the practice.
Well, it's my belief that everything is a value proposition. And if there's nothing worse than going someplace and expecting X and getting Y. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. So when you go and you get exactly what you expected, and it could be like if you go to Neiman Marcus and buy a blouse, you're probably expecting to spend more money than if you go to Macy's and buy
a blouse,
a similar blouse, whatever. You already know that, and certain things that come with it are going to be part of it. When it comes to pricing, it's a challenge because, in Beverly Hills, the pricing is going to be different than it is in many other parts of the country. And how you price is very important. But I do think it's about the value that the patient is getting from the treatment. So if they understand, okay, so, you take your patient, Mrs. Johnson, who's always my patient. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, here's the deal. What we're going to do is we're going to do 2 passes with this device over your face and give you a completely thorough treatment. Now, that could be the end of it, and that's the end of it in most offices because that's the treatment, okay? Mm-hmm. But if you don't mind, I'd like to add another treatment to it where we're going to go and spot treat areas that have lines, deep lines or something like that. It's almost another treatment added to your original treatment, okay? So that is an extra value. What else? Oh, and if you don't mind, we would like to add 5 days of exosomes prior to the treatment, exosomes at the time of the treatment, and 5 days of exosomes for healing. Value added, okay? And if you don't mind, we'd like to add LED light to help with your entire healing process, proliferating more collagen and elastin. So each thing we're talking about increases collagen and elastin and is going to help tighten your skin, lift your skin, do all the things that we told you we were going to do. And those are all value-added components to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, would you expect if everyone's doing just a standard 2-pass and charging $700, you probably can't do what we just talked about for $700. But if you could do it for $1,000 and in essence give them 2, 3, 4 treatments as opposed to 1, all within that, where you are getting so much more collagen and so much elastin, okay, that's value added. And now that makes your pricing an extremely good deal. So if you go to the Ritz-Carlton and they gave you a room for $150 a night, you would think you were stealing it, especially nowadays.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
You can be at Motel 6 and spend that. So the idea is, if people feel like the value is there, but you have to explain what that value is. Mm-hmm. They don't just automatically know you're doing another pass and what the value of the exosomes. If they understand that you get, 28% more collagen and 35% more elastin and 10% more hyaluronic acid by us doing this add-on. That's not costing you any more. It's just part of the package. Okay, that's like doing an entire treatment all by itself. Okay, and then what else are we going to do? Oh, we're going to throw in some LED, which what does LED do? It gives all of your cells at the cellular level energy. So you have so much more energy. You are proliferation, again, of fibroblasts. What do fibroblasts do? They make collagen.
Mm-hmm.
So I always point this out. I don't have a pen on me, but the little head of the pen is about 1 millimeter. That's the size of these collagen bundles. So when you start to lose them and they unravel, you have really, you might have collagen, but it's not doing anything. It's not helping you. So when you repair that, that's called collagen reformation. So you're going to get more out of it. So that's what this is doing. It's helping with that. It's creating new collagen, and we're going to do 3 or 4 different steps, not one, to make that happen. So that is value that really helps with what's going on a lot. That makes pricing, and you need to be fair. If you're doing a $500 treatment, you're charging $1,500 for it. It's unethical. I mean, it's not right.
Yeah.
But if what you are giving the patient and how you're putting it together and you're using your experience and your knowledge and all that to do it to get a certain outcome, okay, you can probably charge a little more. But I do think being ethical in your pricing is important, and understanding, the patient's understanding that you are still in business to make income and make a profit. There are things you have to do and things you have to charge, but I think, pricing needs to be competitive, but it also needs to be fair all the way through for the patient.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
And that's why it's like you always say too, it's you don't want to overcharge patients, but you also don't want to undercharge, because it's not fair to you. And you do have to be able to stay open as a business, or eventually you go under and then you can't offer these services to patients.
and supporting the patient, whatever that means, it's whatever it takes to be able to do that costs money.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Absolutely.
So, and if you have technology, if you want to get new technology, no one's giving this stuff away. Whoa.
If they are, we would like to know about it.
I mean,
Where do you find them?
technology has become very, very expensive. Is it good? Yes.
Mhm.
It is so much
Absolutely.
better than it used to be. But it has not gone down in price. It's gone up in price. Everything has gone up. And so I think just understanding that, you need to get a lot for what you're paying. And, one of the things that I've started doing is we have a device called Visia that shows your skin age. So it actually compares your age to your skin age. And so I've noticed on mine over the last year and a half, 2 years, I have dropped, because of the treatments I've done, my skin age by 9 years. And I realized what a great way. That's an objective way for patients to make a difference. What if, Mrs. Johnson, we could take 5 years off your skin age? Or maybe over a year to 2 years, we could drop it by 10 years. We have an objective way to be able to do that. It actually is going to say your age. Let's build a program for you to do that. And so I think, that's another way, value. What if we can do this and make this happen? And again, you've got 8 different diagnoses on there. You know where the problem areas are, so you go after that, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it, just take some time with it. Collagen takes time, everything is slow, but what a nice difference. So again, I think that adds value to what you're doing, because they actually get to see where they are, and they see their skin age, and they see a simulation of what's going to happen if they do nothing. They get all of that. So I think, again, that's a value-added proposition.
Yep. Yeah, and the pricing kind of leads us right into the next section that, ends up becoming a core value, or core values relate to this, is really the marketing of the practice, because you have to market your practice. If you don't do any kind of marketing, you won't have patients, because, it is a myth. If you build it, they will not come.
Yeah.
It's, you have to start somewhere. So let's talk about where these core values are important in the marketing of the business.
You have probably seen or heard advertisements where that's not real.
Yep.
That's not possible. It's like, there's no way. And you don't, in aesthetics, you don't want to be that. I mean, I think, again, going to your core value and your standard, which is a high standard, what you want to be doing is, okay, let's think about this a little bit. How can we do this? How can we market in a very ethical, professional way? Well, you start out by being truthful, just like you are with the patient. You have to be very honest about what you can and can't do. If you're doing this and you're saying, okay, these are our before and after photos. First of all, if you're saying they're yours, are they yours? And if they're, if anything, I'd rather, if it says this was done in 3 treatments, I'd rather tell you it's 4 or 5, to be honest, because I want it to be fair for you. I don't want you to think that I can do 2 or I can do 3. No 2 people are the same. But I think the thing is, I don't want people to think, oh, you come in here, pay me this much money, and in 3 treatments you have a whole new face. I think we have to be very careful about that. Some patients are going to respond better because genetically, they're lucky, they're fortunate, or they're younger. If you are 30 or 40-year-old skin, you're going to respond a lot better than someone my age. At 100, it's low. So it's like everything takes time. And you have to be aware of that. If you take a knife and cut my arm, I'm going to heal.
At some
someday.
point.
Yeah, someday. But now you cut a young person's arm, and they're going to heal 5 times faster. Well, that's collagen. So just understand this is just very, very simple. But I think, being very honest in your approach to it, in your marketing of your practice, what you can and can't do. The other thing that I find a little frustrating is not all offices have all the technology, and yet they're advertising that they can do everything, pretty much from head to toe. And I understand technology is expensive. We've talked about that. It costs a lot of money to get this stuff, and so it's very difficult to get all of that. But we have said in so many of these that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, that's not fair to the patient. That in itself is unethical. I'm using a device that was designed to do this, and now I'm going to try to make it do this.
Yes.
And, you might get lucky once in a while, but if it's not designed to do it, it's probably not going to do it nearly as well as the devices out there designed to do it.
Yeah.
So the technology is built to do certain things and do certain things very well. Not all technology, it's not going to be equal. And so I think that's another problem. They've got 2 or 3 things, and they're telling you they can do face, neck, chest, they can do your whole body, it doesn't matter. I'd be concerned.
Yeah.
I don't think that's real.
Yep.
And I think so the marketing, there's a lot of things, how we market to our patient when they're with us, how we market externally, social media marketing. Sometimes social media just blows up. It's like, whoa, look at what they've done, or this, or this, or this. Well, it's not always real. So be careful. And I think that's, you want to stay above board with this.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's it's interesting that you said that too about the photos, like, are they really yours or not? I know injectors who always put their names on their photos because people literally steal their photos and pawn them off as their own to try to get clients. And it had happened to them so many times that they have to put their names on their own before and afters.
Now, when we get new technology, I'll tell patients in the consultation, these are not our photos.
Yeah. They are the manufacturer ones provided
Yeah,
to us.
yeah, they came from the manufacturer. This is showing what the device should typically do. So we're assuming we bought this based on it doing this. We believe it's going to do this. We have no reason not to believe. We know the people, all of that. We understand the science. We understand all the stuff, but we'll tell you up front.
Yep.
But we have a lot of our own photos, and we can show those as well. But when it comes to new technology, that's the one time where it's very difficult. We just talked about injecting, injectables. If you haven't done very many people, and sometimes it's difficult because patients don't always want you to use their photos.
Yes.
So that's the other issue. You may be new at this, and you have a database of 300 people, and they don't want their photos used, or only 2 of them do. I mean, you only have 2 of your own patients. So I'm not saying that will be the case, but not everybody wants. Now, sometimes if you're doing body treatments, that's different. They don't see the face. You're seeing an abdomen or something. So that can be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I think in general, when we talk about laser aesthetics, and remember, this all started in the days of medicine and going straight from straight medicine into aesthetic medicine. And I think things have changed over time. A lot of people are doing it that weren't doing it before. And I think it's great. It's a big market, a lot of people out there. But I do think that sometimes people come in with kind of a cowboy attitude that I can do this, or I can market this way, or I can teach this way. And maybe I'm just old school, but I believe there's a right way to do things, and I think you need to be very careful with it.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And, I want to move into our next section where we talk about building relationships and why, treating different sections of your practice as building relationships as a core value. Just because not every, yes, it's still a job that we're doing. We're coming to work. We're taking care of these patients. But there's a lot of different relationships that go. And I want to kind of focus on 3 different zones. I want to talk about the relationships that you need to build with your patients, the relationships you need to build with the manufacturers of the products that you are going to use and carry, and why it's important to work with quality people, and then the relationships you build with your staff. So let's kind of start by talking about why it's important to build quality relationships with our patients. We talked about hospitality and that we need to take care of them and be nice to them, but let's talk about building relationships with these patients and why it benefits your practice.
Think of it like this. You have a new patient that could be yours for the rest of your life. And you have an opportunity to work with that patient, do consultations, do treatments with that patient, and build an ongoing relationship. And again, after 20-some years of doing this, we've got some patients that have been with us basically the entire time. So, that's what you really want. Now, people move, things happen, I understand, but why not? Why not have long-term relationships with the patients? And every once in a while, something will go sideways. Yeah. It happens, no matter what, no matter how good you are, the technology, everything, you're trying to be as careful as you can, things happen. It's just the way it is. Well, someone you have a good relationship with, and you've always been fair with, and you've treated them well, and they know it, and they know you're going to take care of it. That's very much a big part of it. They trust you, and I think that's huge, because over time things happen in all industries and all business. Yep. And so you just got to, have your game face on that's going to happen. Sometime, somewhere, something's going to happen, but having that relationship is really powerful. Yep. So the better the relationship with the patient, and think of it like this, if you have a real strong relationship with that patient, don't they want their friends to come to you?
Yes.
Their sister, their mom, their relative, their daughter, why not? They have a great relationship with you. Why wouldn't their friends, why wouldn't their family have that kind of relationship? And so I think that is a way to grow your business, grow your referral business, which is very powerful,
Yep.
without having to advertise, but just by doing really good work, being very ethical with them, building long-term good relationships. That's going to grow your business probably better than anything else you can do.
Yeah, I agree. Referrals are always the best patients too, because they already trust you. They're willing to work with you. They're not questioning you. And it's not like, again, that we're ever trying to sell our patients things that we don't need, but they're more invested in you. And it's a consult that's worth taking because you know you're going to close that consult.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. So build that relationship. Look at it as an opportunity, to really help grow your business, and they will help you so much. So
Yeah. And then let's talk about manufacturers and why it's important to work with good manufacturers.
So the longer you're in this business, the more important you're going to understand the manufacturer is, and the vendors, the sales reps for those companies. And we have, over the years, the longer you do this, you're going to realize the company may still be there, but the sales rep comes and goes. But if you have a good relationship with that company, you have a good relationship with the sales rep, it is very unlikely that the next rep that comes in, you're not going to have that relationship. I mean, we love our vendors and our manufacturers that we work with, and we've worked with them for many years. And it, even if the sales rep gets promoted or becomes a manager or gets moved to another territory, they bring somebody in, and the first thing what they do is they say, okay, you want to go and get to know Ann and Larry, get to know the staff at Clearskin. They're wonderful, they're good people to work with. They'll do whatever they can to help you. And I think that whole relationship is what you want. And I've heard from different people sometimes that, well, we don't really talk to them, they don't call us, they don't see us, and so we don't do anything. You have to make an effort, and if you make an effort and you show them that, you have their product, you like their product, you care about the product, and, all of that kind of stuff, it is in their best interest to work with you.
Yes.
It's like there will be more products coming out. That's just the way it is. And so just building that relationship and having a good, strong relationship. And again, I'd say everybody that we work with, we've had great relationships with. Yeah,
No.
It's been fun, actually.
And just part of it, letting them know, but besides having the relationship that they benefit us being able to benefit them. Different things like us being able to create before and afters that we can help them with. Being able to demo equipment for them that they can't do if they have an office that wants to come in, which we'll occasionally get phone calls and they're like, hey, there's this physician and they would actually like to see the product being used. Is it okay if they come in and watch a procedure being done? And, we don't mind that as long as I get a patient approval and the patient that I'm treating is okay with somebody watching. I don't mind doing that because I understand, when it's my turn to go in and buy a piece of equipment, I also want to ask those questions from other physicians that are using the devices and have them give me real answers. So I don't mind turning around and also, having that be our side of benefit for them as well.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Help each other out. And, you'll quickly find the more you help them out, the more they help you out.
Yeah.
And you get that, reputation, basically. And other companies over time, other people will say the same thing. It's fabulous working with them. Love working with them. And I think that's what you want to do. If you can get that, it's going to help you so much. And these sales reps know if they've been in the business any time at all, they can help you so much with little ideas, how to do an event. They can help with the event, how to do this, how to do that. Anybody who's been around doing this for any length of time, they're pretty smart, they're pretty good at it, and they can be very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about, the core values as it relates to staffing. I mean, staffing.
Staffing.
Staff is such an important part of a practice.
Staffing is huge. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's your staffing is your number two asset. Your number one asset is your time. You know, how do you use your time? Your time is so precious, how you use it. But your number two asset out of everything, it's not your technology, it's not your business, it's not your location, it's none of that. It is your people. So your people are critical, and, you know, good people make all the difference in the world. So again, getting people with a high standard, huge, okay? And they need to be well trained. They need to know what they're doing, all of that type of stuff. But when you get the right team together, things move in the right direction so much faster. And I've seen offices literally skyrocket and nosedive based on staff. So you want the best people you can get. You need to take care of them. And something I don't do enough, and I'm sure I'll hear about once they watch this, you know, is to thank them for the good work they do, because they do a good job. You know, I can be gone, Dr. Watwood can be gone, you know, things function, you know, the business runs. And that's really what you want, you know, is a business and the people there that are good enough to take care of your business when you're gone. And, you know, I do appreciate them very much. And, yeah, I need to say that more often.
The little things, Larry. The little things.
So, yeah, learning curve here for all of us. Don't forget to tell them that you appreciate them.
Yeah.
And but that's really big. You get good vendors and people you work with. Get your staff. Get a good, fun staff.
Yeah.
We recently had an opportunity to work with a large plastic surgery group that Ann ended up going to their office for a few days.
Yep.
And they were at our office for a few days. And I mean, we had such a good time. And you could just tell that, you know, it all fit. You can tell. I mean, everybody works together. They have a good time. You can joke around a little bit, but the patient business is serious. You know, getting the results and doing good work. But you know, it's a fun place to be, and I think everybody appreciates that, and that's what we saw in their practice, just like they saw that in ours. So it was fun.
Well, yeah. And it's, you know, it's a couple different things with the staff. It's, you want them to, you know, we want to instill the same core values in them that we have about, you know, our love for the practice, always being honest with our patients, the integrity that we're going to have when we're selling them things, that we are actually going to deliver the results that we're doing. But then you also want the staff, like you said, to feel cared for, and so that you're not having a high turnover rate, because that's what we see in offices sometimes, is when they have a high turnover rate and they can't keep people, patients start to wonder what's going on. They're like, well, you know, why is it somebody different every 2 to 3 months? Why don't you have the same person? And so taking care of your staff once you find them, you know, it doesn't mean that occasionally, we've done this before ourselves, people do great in the interview, and then in the first month or two, they turn into a nightmare.
Yeah.
We've had that happen a couple times.
We have.
You know, we're lucky right now that we have a really good team and we all work really well together. But, you know, that happens. But when it's happening consistently over and over again, then you have to start wondering what's going on in the practice, you know.
And part of the problem, you know, is no one has, you know, their education, our education is all in one direction. There's nurses, there's physicians, there's aestheticians, there's laser techs, there's, you know, and then you have some people kind of running the office and doing that. So, you know, you have different personalities, different people doing that sort of thing. But how many have an education on the psychology of how to run a business?
Yes.
You know, how do you do that? How do you put it all together? And you know, many physicians that are doing this now were maybe hospital-based, or they had their own practice, but it was a medical practice in which people just went to them because they took Medicare.
Yeah.
So they had a built-in practice from day one, and it's something maybe they don't like anymore today, and they want to get out of that. But when you get out of that, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
No one's trained anybody for this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, your receptionist has to be different. Every single component has to be different. So anyway, I think you can't put enough emphasis on having a good team, and team stands for together everyone achieves more, and that's what you want to have, is that team doing that.
Yep.
And working like that, like a team. Everybody's got each other's back and helps each other out, and so when you can get that, you will see the growth happen. It just such a different scenario. So.
But part of that team, though, is teamwork, which comes down to that core value in the office is hard work. We all have to be willing to put in the hard work. It's not just easy street, once you get in there. So that's the thing, too. It's like you want to know that everybody's on your team and going to do it with you. And that's the good thing about you and I, is that we kind of lead in that way where we are doing the hard work and we're willing to. We expect other people to do it, but we're going to do it right there with you.
That's right.
We're not just going to throw you under the bus and make you do all of that hard work. We'll actually do it with you. And I think that that's important for the staff to know that as well, that yes, hard work is involved in growing a successful business, but we're all going to do our share and do it together as a team so that we all achieve more.
And just keeping in mind that success comes before work, only in the dictionary. So
you're pulling out all your one-liners today.
They're just flowing. So I think the thing is that if everybody's willing and they come in with that attitude, they have a good work ethic. And I can't remember who first told me this. I know Dr. Martin Braun told me this, but he heard it from someone, that when you hire someone, if you hire someone with a very high internal emotional need to succeed, it's almost like hiring overachievers, that really want to succeed. They have overachieved at most things that they've done. If they put their mind to something, they do it. They do it really well, and probably better than most people can do it. And I think that's the type of person that really excels in aesthetics, because patients would love to have an overachiever, working, and have that relationship, because the results are great. So I think looking ahead, how do you find those people? How do you get those people? Knowing what to look for to begin with, I think, is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, too, and the hard work, I think another one that we didn't really talk about, but I always feel like, for me as a personal core value in it, is the passion for what you're doing and kind of the love for what you're doing. Because if you really have passion behind what you're doing, it radiates to your patients and your staff. And that's what people come for. They see that and they want to be a part of that passion, and they want that same thing. And that's what really helps a successful business to grow too, is, once you have that passion for it and you put that hard work behind it, but you include the honesty, the integrity, the high quality of service, I think that's what really begins to grow a successful practice.
Nothing great has happened in the world without passion. And just throwing that one out, when you are passionate about what you do, everybody wants to be around you.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, somebody's fired up and they're excited. They can be whispering. Pretty soon you have a crowd around you because you are so passionate. You're talking about something in a way people get excited and fired up about. Well, if you're passionate about helping each other, if you're passionate about helping your patients, the whole thing, of course, that makes such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think we've covered the mainstay of what we felt like were some of those core values. But any last words of advice for some of these people that are either stuck in starting a practice that they're having trouble with, thinking about starting a practice, of things that they should really integrate in before to get things going?
Well, I think the hardest thing is changing attitudes. A lot of people think that you can get into this business, buy a laser, and make money. You
Yep.
know, I'm going to tell
If you build it, they will
they
come.
will come. You know,
Nope.
don't go there. You know, you really have to want it. You know, a lot. Your likelihood of getting what you want is directly proportional to how bad you want it. Today, okay.
He's just throwing all these one-liners
Yeah.
out.
How bad do you want it? Because things have to change. If you are going from this field into this field, a lot of change is going to take place, and not everyone's comfortable with change. You get out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
and you have to get out of your comfort zone. And there's a lot involved in change. I could talk about change for 2 or 3 hours straight. There's so much. So change is inevitable. Growth is optional.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, there's
Or-
another one.
Yeah, Darwin's. My
Yeah.
favorite is the one is, the success of a species is not on who is the strongest or the most intelligent, but who's the most adaptable to change.
That's right. That's fabulous, and that's exactly right. So just understand there's a lot of things that are going to have to change, but, with that, I think if you can just say, okay, I'm going to go about this, and maybe I'm only going to do it myself and one other person for a while, set your standard very high. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it the best that can be done, or don't do it. Because if you have that from the very beginning, if that's always your standard and you're going for that all the time, you're going to be successful. It
Yep.
just takes time.
I agree.
Yep.
Good. Well, I think we're getting close to wrap up.
Yep.
Unless you have any last words of advice or any last one-liner quotes you want to throw at us
Oh,
as your
hell.
favorite quote.
I could keep going all day on quotes.
I know. I have some good funny ones too.
I think we'll save a couple for another time, but
We will, but I have one good one for you
Okay.
that's not related to this, and this will
Okay.
maybe get him to say one. I think one of my favorite quotes that I've picked up over this last year from a doctor is when they were talking about something, and it was just a patient who was a big pain in the butt, and the doctor said, "Well, that's when you know the juice was not worth the squeeze."
oh, I so love that.
That is my quote for the year. That
That's-
I picked that up and I was like, I'm writing that down and I'm going to use it one day, and I never get to use it. So
Juice is
since
not
you're throwing
worth
out
it.
all these one-liners, I'm going to throw that one out.
But that's a good one. I can't top that.
Okay.
That's really good. But one last thing I would like to say is do get excited about this field. It is exciting. It's fun to be in. So, we've given you some of the negatives and some of the stuff to be careful along the way. But on the other hand, you get to work for yourself. People drive across town to see you because they want to, not because they have to. It's such a nice, different attitude. I mean, they're wanting to come to you. So, that's a really feel-good thing, and there's a lot about aesthetics that is feel-good. So I think you can have a lot of fun with it, you can do well with it, and really enjoy it, but you do have to learn it along the way. Set your standard high.
I agree.
Yep.
Just pick the right fruits to squeeze, and then you'll have a good time.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.